Did you know that roughly 2,300 children go missing every day in the United States of America? That's a shocking number. But even more shocking is the number of Amber Alerts issued when children did go missing. A 2021 study showed that 254 Amber Alerts were issued when 331,000 went missing that year. I recently learned that in order to issue an Amber Alert, certain criteria have to be met, such as ruling out the possibility that the child is a runaway. But the time it takes to rule out certain situations could mean life or death for those in harm's way. I mean, what good is a system if it isn't utilized for every child? A question that will forever be debated. And in instances where the authorities didn't act quick enough, it will always leave the burning question of what if. August 2nd, 2007. The world will make way for Jakarah more. The place she called home is Rochester, New York. At a young age, she was described as your typical young child. She was a girl who enjoyed watching cartoons, dancing, listening to music. Although these are things that many young girls her age do, she was also someone who was referred to as an old soul, someone who was very mature for her age. Outside of the normal activities that girls her age do, she did enjoy spending time with family and friends. But when she wasn't spending time with them, her second love would be social media. Whether she was uploading pictures of herself or videos, she was undoubtedly, unapologetically herself.
Hi guys, it's Jakarah Moore. Please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, please. Today we're going to be doing, restriction. Hope you like this video. So, today we're going to be doing is eat it, or drink it, or wear it. So, I hope you like it. And if they don't pick any one of those, they have to drink this. It's elimination vanilla. Okay, so first is me. I'm going to go. So, I picked out of these is relish. I'm going to have to eat relish.
No, Jack. Give me a thumbs up, please.
Oh, it's good.
Give this a big thumbs up. A big thumbs up. So let's get started.
Okay, that was disgusting.
As seen in the video, Jakarah was an outgoing, energetic young child. But although she was young, she did go through things. She would often take to social media to make posts to say she was depressed or she was going through things. And around the age of 12, this would be no different. When Jakarah was 12 years old, she would make national headlines for being a young child who was missing. She was reported missing by her family. However, things did turn out. She was found okay. But after she was found, that started to raise the question of the people around her, exactly what she was going through. Now, when it comes to why she ran away at the age of 12, that information was never disclosed. She was simply another face in the headline of a child who was missing. But thankfully, she was found. Some time would pass since that incident, and the year would now be 2023. And on August 2nd of 2023, Jakarah Moore would turn 16 years old. 2 days after turning 16 years old, Jakarah would go and apply for her driver's license permit, and she would succeed. Going from her driver's license permit to an actual driver's license at this point in her life was a dream. She was ready to obtain it. In fact, she would jump behind the wheel of anyone's car who would allow her to drive. At this point in her life, she's described as someone who's outgoing, a true friend, someone who understands the importance of putting others before herself. And you can add one more thing to that list: animal lover. She had a ferret who she kept next to her bed, someone who she considered to be a good friend. She was no doubt someone who possessed empathy. At the age of 16, she also had a career picked out. She knew that when she finished school, she wanted to become a psych nurse. Even though Jakarah was only 16 years old, she had felt like she had been through a lot in life, and her way of giving back to the community would to become a psychiatric nurse and help others in need. Although Jakarah Moore had been predominantly raised by her mother, when she was around the age of 15, she did move in with her grandmother. Now, it's not disclosed the reason for why she moved in with her grandmother, but if I had to take a guess, I would have to say it's because she did get into a little trouble. Now, it's no secret, by the time a young girl is the age of 16, 9 times out of 10, the relationship with her mother is kind of a rocky thing. But for a 16-year-old girl, that's not abnormal. We all know that 16 years old is around the age when all of us begin to think that we're grown. And at this point in her life, I feel like her mother most likely felt like her grandmother was a better fit. Because after all, her grandparents have already raised children to adults. They've been through this phase themselves, and they know exactly how to handle it. But nonetheless, a 16-year-old Jakarah Moore would be living with her grandmother. And by all means, it's described as great. She wasn't an unruly child. She knew how to listen, and she got along well with her folks. And although she wasn't living with her biological mother, she would visit almost every day. They were almost best friends, so don't take the fact that she was living with her grandmother as she didn't have a relationship with her mother, because they were tight. But little did anyone know in that family that it would be this same month in August that things would begin to change, and an episode from her past would prove to be haunting for the present situation. Sunday, August 27th, 2023. Jakarah Moore would return home in the early morning hours around 1:15 a.m. Now, with this being a weekend day, Jakarah would often go to her friends for the weekend, but she would return home, and this day would be no different. But she would return home this night, and then 30 minutes later, she would leave out again. But after leaving out, and time passes, by Monday, April 28th of 2023, her family begins to worry. They begin to call her phone. However, her phone is turned off. They also go to check her social media, and a teen who is normally active almost every day has gone silent. Jakarah Moore disappearing wasn't exactly abnormal. She has done this before, so it wasn't exactly an alarm for the family. She has disappeared in previous instances. However, she would be found a couple of days later up the street at one of her friends' home. But what made this different from previous situations is that even when she did disappear, she would be on her social media, and her phone would be turned on. Someone would always be able to contact her. However, this time, it was different. Her phone was off, and no one could reach her. And after reaching out to her friends, they hadn't seen her either. So by August 29th of 2023, her grandmother had felt enough time had passed, and she would decide to report her missing to the authorities. If you report a child missing, you expect the authorities to take that very seriously. However, due to her past occurrence of being reported missing and found, the police were treating this situation as a runaway. So when 16-year-old Jakarah Moore was reported missing on August 29th of 2023, no Amber Alert was issued. But to add insult to injury, it wouldn't be until September 7th of 2023 that the police made her disappearance a public notification. They would officially announce her missing, and the media would pick up the story and begin to air the news that 16-year-old Jakarah Moore is missing.
This Ring video from 1:16 in the morning on August 27th shows the last time Jakarah would return home from a friend's house. 30 minutes after this video, police say she left again but never returned. Where she went after leaving home near Weldon Scio Street remains a mystery. Her grandmother remembers their last conversation.
We were just cutting up about something, and then she said, I'll be back later, Later means a few hours, she wouldn't have been gone that long. So then when I woke up and she didn't answer, and her phone was off, then I started getting worried.
When the announcement was made, the entire city of Rochester was on high alert, and everyone was looking for Jakarah. However, despite that being the case, no one could offer any information pertaining to her whereabouts. As time begins to elapse, tips do come in. The police would receive a tip from an unknown source saying that Jakarah Moore was kidnapped and being held for ransom. Now, with no real leads coming into the authorities, they had to take this serious. But once they investigated this tip, they would come to find that it was no more than someone wasting their time. And as the days began to turn into weeks, the family would be forced to turn to the media in hopes to generate authentic leads.
It's been 2 weeks now since family of Jakarah Lopez Moore heard from the Rochester teen. Rochester police have been involved, and tonight community members gathered for a candlelight vigil to raise awareness and hope.
I really don't know life without Jakarah. I mean, everybody wants me to say that she ran away, but I don't think she ran away. I think something happened to her.
Christy Lopez, Jakarah's mom, says for her to not reach out, whether by calling or texting, is unusual.
August of 2023 would come to a close, and then we would greet the beginning of September of 2023. However, that full month would pass, and there would still be no information in regards to her whereabouts. By the beginning of October of 2023, the family is frantic. Her mother is on social media posting any and everything about her, trying to let everyone know that her daughter is missing and she's frantically searching for her. But while the mother was making these heartfelt posts, little did she know that 2 weeks into October, they would get the news that they were searching for. However, it wasn't what they were hoping for. October 14th, 2023. Fishermen are out in the Vanguard area of Rochester, New York, basically doing what they do, fishing. When leaving the area, they would come across something that looked odd, but upon further inspection, they would come to find that this wasn't an object and that it was an actual human body. The fishermen would then report their finding to the authorities. And after the authorities showed up and processed the scene, the body would later be identified as 16-year-old Jakarah Moore.
Everybody ready? Okay. On October 14th of this year, officers were alerted to a body found in the woods behind 5 Vanguard Parkway. For those not familiar, Vanguard Parkway is off of W Street, which is in the area of Emerson and Lee Road. There's the recycling facility. It was right behind there. It was apparent the body had been there for an unknown period of time, as it was in a state of decomposition in which a scientific identification was required. After examination by the Monroe County Medical Examiner's Office, the body was identified as that of 16-year-old Jakarah Lopez Moore. It was also determined the manner of death for Jakarah was in fact a homicide. Jakarah was reported missing to us by her family on the 29th of August of this year. At that time, it was reported to us that she'd left her residence on Weld Street at about 1:45 a.m. on the 27th and had never returned. We've been working on the circumstances surrounding Jakarah Lopez's disappearance since it was first reported to the police department in August. The investigation is continuing, and we'll release more information as the investigation permits.
The whereabouts of 16-year-old Jakarah Moore is no longer a mystery. They found her. However, now the authorities are faced with the question of what happened. When the authorities discovered Jakarah and the medical examiner examined her, it was obvious that she had been in that spot for at least a month. And once the autopsy was concluded, the cause of death would be homicide. However, the authorities would not release to the public of how she died. And the authorities have no plans on releasing that information, at least not until the culprit is caught. They hope by not releasing the cause of death, this will minimize the number of people who would call in claiming to know what happened. The authorities at this point can't do anything but turn to the public, and they're encouraging anyone who knows any information about the death of 16-year-old Jakarah Lopez Moore to come forward with what you know. There are a number of things that went wrong with this case, such as her being reported missing on August the 29th. However, the authorities not leaping into action until September the 7th. Another thing wrong in this case is some of the missing posters saying that she was last seen on the 25th, when she was actually last seen on the 27th. The authorities treating this case as no more than a runaway in the beginning was her past coming back to haunt her, which leads to my next question. Even if a child ran away, do you think that an Amber Alert should be immediately issued, regardless of the situation? Well, I do. The Amber Alert is something that should be issued for every missing child, regardless of the circumstances that surround the case. After the body of Jakarah Moore was discovered, there was a rumor floating around town, a rumor that this was retaliation for Jakarah cooperating with the authorities. On November 1st of 2022, 17-year-old Chance Mosley would be shot in front of the home of Jakarah Lopez Moore. Sadly, Chance Mosley would lose his life in this altercation. It is rumored that Jakarah Moore was actually a witness in this murder trial, a murder trial that was about to begin. The rumor that Jakarah Moore was cooperating with the authorities came in form of a Facebook post from one of Chance Mosley's relatives. After the passing of Jakarah, one of Chance Mosley's relatives would take to social media to make a post. And in this post, it was said that Jakarah had cooperated with authorities and she was in fact a witness in this trial. That post has since been deleted and hasn't been seen since. The authorities did respond to this accusation, and they wouldn't say whether or not Jakarah was in fact cooperating with them. They merely said they hadn't found a connection between that situation and her situation. They are actively investigating any and all leads they receive, but they have officially ruled that one out. What happened to 16-year-old Jakarah Lopez Moore is completely heartbreaking. But even worse in itself, to not have any answers as to why it happened is a million times worse. Rest in peace, Jakarah Lopez Moore. I truly hope you receive the justice that you deserve. If you have any information pertaining to this case, please contact the Rochester Police Department and relay the information you know. No detail is too small, and every detail helps.
The difficult thing that we have to juggle here today is that this is a very active murder investigation. As a result, there's only limited information that I can provide to you. And the juggling act is the fact that we need help from the public in all cases, and especially a case of this nature. But there's also information that we have to hold tight to the vest to protect the integrity of the investigation. So I will try to answer a few questions on this. I'm sure that there is a bunch, and we'll try to balance out what we can release and what we need to hold tight to the vest on that.